The soft hum of the orbital station Haven 9 floated through the quiet corridors like the sound of distant wind. The station circled a glowing young star known as Aurelia, a golden sphere of light that had formed only 30 years ago. From the observation deck, it looked alive, like a bright heartbeat in the middle of the endless black of space. Dr. Lyra Wynne stood at the wide, curved glass panel, staring at that star with the same quiet wonder she'd felt the first time she saw it. Her dark hair was tied back in a loose knot, and the soft glow from Aurelia painted her face in gold. She was the lead scientist of the Lumen Project, the most daring scientific mission in human history. The idea was simple but impossible at the same time: to create a direct, living connection between a human mind and a star. Not just to study its light or measure its gravity, but to understand it. Every species in the galaxy had tried to learn more about stars. They had built machines, launched probes, and studied light for centuries. But no one had ever tried to talk to one. Humanity was the first, and that was why on this day, Haven 9 was filled with a quiet kind of excitement, the kind that comes when something new is about to happen. Inside the control chamber, glass screens floated in the air like thin sheets of water. Numbers scrolled silently. Energy readings formed elegant patterns of color. Engineers whispered to each other, their voices calm but tense. The experiment was scheduled to begin in less than an hour. In the center of the room stood a single white chair. It wasn't just a chair, it was the interface. From its sides extended hundreds of smooth silver threads, thin as hair, glowing faint blue. These threads would connect the volunteers' neural patterns to the resonance array, a complex network that could translate brain signals into harmonic energy. Dr. Wynne took a slow breath and turned to the young woman standing nearby. "Elara," she said softly. Elara. Chen was only 26 years old. She wasn't a soldier or a pilot or a scientist. She was a linguist, someone who understood how languages were built, how meaning lived in sounds, symbols, and rhythms. She had spent her life listening to how different civilizations communicated, not just through words but through patterns. Her black hair was cut short, and she wore a simple gray suit lined with soft sensors. On her wrist, a small silver band glimmered with a warm light, the neural stabilizer. Elara looked calm, but her fingers moved nervously at her side. "It feels strange," she admitted with a shy smile. "I never thought I'd talk to a star." Dr. Wynne smiled back. "We're not sure what will happen," she said honestly. "No one has ever done this. But we believe your ability to sense patterns gives us the best chance to understand Aurelia." Elara nodded. "I'll listen." That simple promise hung in the air for a moment. Not I'll control, not I'll command, just listen. That was what made her different. As the countdown began, the station lights dimmed to a gentle blue. The control room was silent except for the soft rhythm of machines. Dr. Wynne gave the final go-ahead, and Elara slowly sat down in the interface chair. The silver threads moved like soft hair in water, wrapping gently around the band on her wrist, the back of her neck, and the sides of her head. A warm pulse flowed through them. The interface was active. On the large central screen, Aurelia shone brighter. Waves of light began to ripple from the star's surface, soft and slow like a calm breath. "Connection initialized," said one of the engineers. "Neural alignment in progress." Elara closed her eyes. She expected noise, static, or pain. But what she felt instead was warmth, like sunlight on her face on a spring morning. The warmth deepened, moving through her thoughts like a golden river. It wasn't words, but something else, something quieter, softer, but alive. Dr. Wynne leaned closer to the monitor. "Her brainwave patterns are syncing with the star's electromagnetic field," she whispered. The energy lines on the screen danced in perfect rhythm. Then, something unexpected happened. Elara's lips parted. Her breathing slowed, and in a voice barely louder than a whisper, she said, "It's hurting." The entire room froze. Dr. Wynne frowned. "Elara, what do you mean?" Elara opened her eyes. They were glowing faintly gold. Not bright, not unnatural, just a soft reflection of Aurelia's light. "I don't know," she said slowly. "I can feel something. It's warm, but there's a sharpness behind it, like a note that's out of tune." The data screens showed no irregularities. The star's energy output was stable. No flares, no spikes, just calm golden waves, but Elara shook her head softly. "It's not the numbers," she said. "It's the feeling. It's telling me something is wrong. It's hurting." Dr. Wynne exchanged looks with her team. The Lumen project had always been built on hard science. But this was something science had no words for. A star expressing discomfort? Through emotion? Should we stop the experiment? Asked Engineer Halden, his voice tight. Dr. Wynne hesitated. Every instinct told her to be careful. But another part of her, a quieter, more human part, whispered something else. If Aurelia was truly trying to communicate, stopping now might silence something that had never spoken before. Ilara, Dr. Wynne said gently. Do you feel any danger? Ilara closed her eyes again, letting the warmth flood through her. She searched the golden hum like someone listening for a faint voice in a crowd. No, she said at last. It doesn't want to hurt me, it's lonely. A ripple of emotion passed through the room. No one spoke. The star, a ball of plasma millions of kilometers wide, was lonely. Outside the station, Aurelia pulsed softly. Its light fell across the blackness of space like a warm hand reaching out. Ilara tilted her head, listening. Inside her mind, the sound grew clearer. It wasn't like language. It was like standing next to a violin, feeling the string vibrations through your chest. The star wasn't speaking, it was singing. But its song was fractured. I can fix the tone, she whispered. Dr. Wynne leaned closer. What tone? It's not balanced, Ilara explained slowly. Our resonance signal, the one we're sending to connect to the star, it's slightly off. It's pressing against something that's not supposed to be pressed. That's why it's hurting. The lead engineer quickly scanned the data. There's nothing wrong with the alignment, he said. But Ilara shook her head gently. The machines can't hear it, but I can. Minutes turned into an hour as the experiment continued. Dr. Wynne decided not to end it, not yet. They carefully lowered the signal intensity and allowed Ilara to adjust the harmonic levels manually. She didn't use calculations. She used instinct. She adjusted the tones the way a musician tunes an instrument, by feeling. The more she tuned, the warmer the connection grew. The sharp edge faded. The golden hum became smoother, like sunlight filtered through water. And then, something happened that no one could have predicted. The light outside the observation deck shifted. Instead of steady waves, Aurelia began to pulse in time with Ilara's heartbeat. Not with the station's systems. Not with the computers. With her, Ilara. Dr. Wynne whispered, awe filling her voice. It's responding to you. Ilara's voice trembled. It's singing back. Everyone on the station gathered at the observation window. Engineers, assistants, and researchers stood shoulder to shoulder, faces lit by the soft gold outside. The star wasn't just glowing anymore. It was alive in a way no one had ever seen. Soft lines of light wrapped around the station like ribbons, forming delicate patterns in space. They weren't random. They looked like writing. Not human, not alien, but something older and deeper. A language written in light. Ilara spoke again, her voice almost a whisper. It's not angry, she said. It just wanted someone to hear it. It's been alone for so long. Floating in the dark. No one listened before. Dr. Wynne felt something stir in her chest. For centuries, humanity had searched for messages in the stars, believing that aliens or gods might speak from the darkness. But now the truth was different. The star itself had a voice. They had simply never learned to listen. The official report would later describe the moment in scientific language. At 1934 galactic time, resonance synchronization between subject and stellar core wave reached 97.8%. Energy emissions adapted to human biometric rhythm. Emotional feedback registered, but the people in that room would always remember it more simply. A star spoke, and a human answered. Later, in the quiet of the medical bay, Dr. Wynne sat beside Ilara, who was resting. The neural threads had been removed, leaving only faint silver marks on her skin. You did something no one else could, Dr. Wynne said softly. Ilara smiled sleepily. I didn't do much. I just listened. Dr. Wynne looked out the small round window. Aurelia's golden light still pulsed gently outside, like the calm breathing of a friend. This was only the beginning. No one knew what would happen next. But one thing was certain. Humanity had just opened a door to a kind of conversation no one in the galaxy had ever imagined before. And it all began with 6 soft words. The light from Aurelia filled the wide windows of the station like golden water flowing into every corner. The star had not dimmed since the experiment began. It shone brighter, steadier, almost as if it were awake now, aware that someone had finally heard its quiet song. But inside Haven 9, the feeling was not only excitement. It was also something else, something softer and more serious. Everyone knew they had crossed a line no one had crossed before. They had not only touched a star, they had made it speak. Dr. Lyra Wynne walked slowly through the central corridor, holding a warm cup of tea between her hands. She needed it to steady herself. She had led big projects before, missions involving wormholes, particle fields, artificial gravity, but nothing had ever felt like this. Nothing had ever felt so alive. She stepped into the observation deck. The golden light painted everything in a gentle glow. Through the glass, the star pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. She stood there quietly, just breathing it in. The door behind her opened with a soft hiss. "Ilara," she said without turning around. Ilara Chen walked in carefully. Her steps were quiet, but the light caught the edges of her hair, making it shine like gold. She wore a soft blue suit with thin sensors attached at the wrists. She had recovered from the first experiment only a few hours ago, but something about her had changed. Before, Ilara had looked curious, a little nervous. Now she carried a quiet strength in the way she moved. She wasn't afraid. She wasn't unsure. She had listened to a star and understood it. "You couldn't sleep either?" Ilara asked gently. Dr. Wynne shook her head. "How can anyone sleep after something like this?" They both looked out at Aurelia. "It's still singing," Ilara said softly. Dr. Wynne turned her head. "You can still hear it?" Ilara touched her wrist where the neural stabilizer had been earlier. "Not with my ears," she said slowly. "It's like when you remember a song. You don't hear the notes with sound, but they're still inside you. It's there, quiet, waiting." Dr. Wynne's heart beat a little faster. She knew what this meant. The connection between Ilara and Aurelia hadn't disappeared completely when the experiment ended. It had left something behind, a soft, invisible thread. By morning, the control room was busy again. Engineers checked systems, adjusted the resonance array, and scanned for any unexpected energy surges. The news of the experiment had already reached other science stations. Messages were flowing in, full of questions. How did you make it respond? Was it a flare pattern or communication? Are you sure it wasn't random energy? Dr. Wynne ignored most of them for now. What they had experienced was too real to reduce to numbers. "Ilara," she said as she entered the room. "Are you ready to try again?" Ilara hesitated for a moment. "What if the star doesn't want to talk anymore?" Dr. Wynne placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You said it felt lonely. Stars may not have minds like ours, but they respond to energy. If it felt connection once, maybe it wants it again." Ilara nodded slowly. "Okay, I'll listen again." The second experiment was different. This time, they didn't just want to hear the star. They wanted to understand what it was trying to say. Ilara sat in the white chair again. The silver threads wrapped softly around her wrists and neck. This time, the team adjusted the harmonic frequencies based on her feedback from the first session. The tones were warmer, smoother, less sharp. "Neural link ready," said one of the engineers. "Begin phase 2, Dr. Wynne said calmly. The resonance field activated. The air filled with a low, soft hum. The star outside responded almost immediately. Golden pulses brightened around its surface, rolling across space like gentle waves. Ilara closed her eyes. The warmth flowed back through her, deeper this time, like a river remembering its path. The connection wasn't strange anymore. It felt familiar, safe, and then she heard it, not in sound but in feeling. "It's clearer now," she whispered. "What do you feel?" Dr. Wynne asked gently. Ilara took a deep breath. "It's not pain anymore. It's waiting." It's listening back. The light from Aurelia shifted in slow, beautiful patterns. Golden spirals formed around it like writing in the air. The team stared at the data screens in silence. Every pulse of light matched Ilara's heartbeat. The star wasn't just reacting. It was communicating. Meanwhile, far away in the galaxy, other science stations were observing the same star through their telescopes. What they saw confused them. Aurelia's surface patterns were no longer random. They had rhythm. They had shape. On Haven 9, Ilara tilted her head as if listening to something only she could hear. Her voice came out slow and calm. "It remembers something. Something old." Dr. Wynne frowned softly. "What do you mean?" Ilara's brow furrowed. "I can feel it. It's not speaking with words. It's showing emotions. Long ago, when it was still forming, something hurt it. Not like pain we understand, more like being alone for too long. A star without a song. A silence filled the control room. Even the machine seemed quieter. No one had ever thought of stars as anything more than bright burning spheres of gas. But what if they were something else too? Something alive in a way science had never explained? Dr. Wynne, one of the engineers, said carefully, "Do we continue?" Wynne didn't answer right away. Her mind raced through every risk, every unknown. They were standing at the edge of something that could change everything humanity knew. "Ilara," she said gently, "can you ask it what it wants?" Ilara focused again. The warmth inside her chest grew. The patterns of light outside twisted softly, like ripples answering ripples. "I don't think it speaks in wants," she said after a moment. "But it's calling. It's asking us to match it, to sing with it." Dr. Wynne's eyebrows lifted slightly. "Sing? Not with voice," Ilara explained. "With energy. With patterns. It's how it speaks. It listens when we match its rhythm." The lead engineer adjusted the resonance field. "We can try to sync the array to its pulse," he suggested. Dr. Wynne nodded. "Do it. Carefully." As the harmonic frequency aligned with Aurelia's heartbeat-like pulses, something breathtaking happened. The entire observation deck filled with moving light. Not just golden light from outside, but inside the station. Lines of light flowed across the walls like soft brushstrokes, drawing delicate curves and symbols no one had ever seen. Gasps filled the room. The star wasn't just communicating with Ilara anymore. It was speaking to the station. Ilara's voice was soft and steady. "It's saying thank you." Dr. Wynne's throat tightened slightly. The star was saying thank you. News of the phenomenon spread fast. Scientists from other colonies sent urgent messages asking for data. Diplomats contacted the station, curious and concerned. If a star could talk, then everything they knew about the universe might change. But for Ilara, none of those messages mattered. She was still in the chair, eyes closed, listening. The star's warmth filled her like sunlight after a long storm. Then something shifted. The light outside flickered gently, not in pain this time, but like a question. A soft vibration moved through the station. "It wants us to see something," Ilara whispered. Dr. Wynne leaned forward. "See what?" Ilara didn't answer with words. She raised her hand slowly, and as she did, the light patterns on the walls began to change shape. They formed a simple spiral, elegant, repeating, endless. "It's showing me its memory," Ilara said quietly. "When it was born, when it was alone in the dark." The room fell silent again. It was a story told without sound or words, only light and feeling. Aurelia showed them a time when no other stars were near. It had formed alone, glowing softly, waiting. Waiting for something to answer, for something to understand its quiet music. And now finally something had. Dr. Wynne felt a lump in her throat. For so long, humanity had looked at the stars and thought we are alone out here. But what if, all along, the stars themselves had felt the same way? She whispered to herself. We were listening to the wrong kind of voice. Ilara opened her eyes slowly. They shone faintly gold again. "It trusts us," she said simply. Dr. Wynne nodded. "Then we'll keep listening." Over the next several hours, the team carefully recorded every pulse, every pattern. But this was not like collecting ordinary data. It was like watching a friendship form between two very different beings, a star and a human. Aurelia began to respond faster, shaping its light to mirror the energy they sent. The scientists could barely keep up with how smoothly the connection deepened, but it was Ilara who understood best. She didn't use numbers or equations. She used feeling. She learned the star's rhythm. She matched its patterns with soft, slow breathing. She hummed softly under her breath, not as part of the experiment, but just to be closer to it. And the star answered. As the session reached its peak, the golden light around the station wrapped tighter and brighter, like a cocoon. The instruments glowed. The air felt warmer. Ilara smiled softly, even with her eyes closed. "It's happy," she whispered. For the first time, it's not alone. The team stared at the readings in awe. They were witnessing something no one had seen before. Dr. Wynne leaned closer to the glass. "We've crossed the resonance threshold," she murmured. This was more than science now. This was connection. When the experiment finally ended for the day, the lights faded back to their usual softness. Ilara stepped down from the chair with slow, steady movements. She was tired, but not weak. She felt as if she had been standing in sunlight for hours. Dr. Wynne walked beside her. "Are you okay?" Alara nodded with a gentle smile. "It's still singing inside me. I think it always will." The star Aurelia no longer felt like a distant ball of fire. It had become a presence, a warm, steady light that seemed to breathe with the station. Days had passed since the first connection, and every moment felt different now. The people of Haven 9 woke each morning to a soft golden glow shining through the windows. The light was no longer random. It had rhythm, like quiet music only the heart could hear. The entire station seemed more alive. It wasn't just a research base anymore. It was a listener. Dr. Lyra Wynne stood alone in the control room early that morning. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of the machines. Her hands rested on the glowing console as she stared at the star through the wide glass panel. She felt small, but not in a bad way. For the first time in her life, she felt like she was part of something much larger, something beautiful and gentle. She thought of all the scientists who had spent their lives studying stars. They measured temperatures, brightness, gravity, but no one had ever talked to one. Behind her, the doors slid open with a soft sound. "Ilara," Dr. Wynne said, without turning. Ilara Chen stepped in, her soft gray uniform glowing faintly in the golden light. Her black hair had grown slightly messy in the past few days, but there was a peaceful smile on her face. She had become the bridge between humanity and Aurelia. "You're up early," Ilara said. "So are you," Dr. Wynne replied with a small smile. They stood together in silence for a moment, watching the star. Its golden light rolled gently like the ocean. "It's different every day," Ilara whispered. "The song is changing." Dr. Wynne turned to her. "What do you mean?" "It's adding more notes," Ilara said softly, touching her chest. "I don't know how to explain it in science language, but it feels like the star is learning. It's listening to us too." Dr. Wynne's heart gave a small jump. A star that learns. This was something the galaxy had never known before. By mid-morning, the control room was filled with quiet movement. Engineers checked the resonance array, calibrating the soft harmonic signals that linked Ilara's mind to Aurelia. The scientists whispered to each other as they watched the golden pulse on the big screens. Signal harmony is higher than yesterday. Radiation, pattern stable. Resonance index at 99.1. Dr. Wynne watched them with quiet pride. Everyone had changed. The work was no longer just about data. There was a softness in their eyes, a quiet respect for the glowing star outside. The third connection session was scheduled to begin soon. But this time it wasn't just a test. It was something greater, a kind of conversation. "Ilara," Dr. Wynne said as she approached her, "are you ready?" Ilara smiled. "I think Aurelia is more ready than I am." She sat down in the white chair again, the same one where it all began. The silver threads reached out gently, wrapping around her wrists and neck like soft silk. The moment they touched, the resonance field hummed softly through the room. "Neural link active," a voice said from the console. Aurelia responded instantly. Outside the window, the star brightened, sending golden rings across its surface like ripples in a pond. Ilara closed her eyes. Warmth filled her chest. The connection felt deeper than ever before. "I can feel it clearly," she whispered. "It's happy." The entire control room fell silent. The hum of machines blended with the star's soft rhythm. But something else began to happen. The golden light pulsing around Aurelia started to spread outward, not just toward the station, but beyond. Long lines of soft light extended into space like glowing threads, stretching far away into the darkness. "Look at the readings," one of the engineers whispered. On the main screen, tiny points of light began to flicker across the map of nearby space. Other stars, far away, silent for centuries, were beginning to respond. They flickered in the same gentle rhythm. Dr. Wynne leaned closer to the glass. "It's not just singing anymore," she said softly. "It's calling." The team worked quickly, adjusting instruments to capture the pattern. The star was sending harmonic energy outward, like a song reaching for others. Ilara tilted her head slightly. "I can feel them," she whispered. "The other stars. They're answering." Her voice was soft, calm, filled with quiet wonder. "It's like they've been waiting for someone to start the music." Outside, more and more stars lit up in the distance. Faint silver and gold flickers appeared like tiny lanterns across the black canvas of space. The room filled with gasps. Humanity had always thought stars were silent. But maybe they had simply been waiting for someone to speak their language. Hours passed, but no one was tired. The station was full of quiet excitement. Scientists from other colonies were already sending messages. Some watched through telescopes and confirmed what Haven 9 was seeing. Aurelia's song was spreading. "It's like a network," Dr. Wynne explained to the crew. "Like a bridge of light between stars." But Alara understood it differently. To her, it wasn't just a network. It was a chorus. A soft, endless chorus that filled the darkness with warmth. The connection between Alara and Aurelia grew stronger. She didn't need the machines to hear it anymore. The melody lived inside her, as if part of her heartbeat now. In the evening, after the experiment ended, Alara sat quietly on the observation deck. The room was empty except for her. She hugged her knees to her chest and stared at Aurelia. The star was still glowing softly, pulsing in its familiar rhythm, but now the sky behind it was different. Distant stars shimmered faintly in the same pattern. She closed her eyes and listened. Inside her mind, the song was clear. It wasn't lonely anymore. It wasn't broken. It was full and warm, like hundreds of voices humming together softly. Aurelia was no longer alone, and neither was she. She heard a soft footstep behind her. Dr. Wynne sat down beside her, not saying anything at first. They just watched the golden sky together. "It's beautiful," Wynne said finally. Alara nodded. "It's more than beautiful. It's alive." The next day, the world beyond the station changed. Messages came from faraway colonies, science stations, and even alien observers. Every telescope pointed at the night sky saw the same thing: stars blinking and pulsing in gentle harmony. Many called it the celestial song. Others called it the first chorus. But to Alara, it was simply Aurelia's voice, finally heard. Dr. Wynne held a conference call with scientists from other planets. She explained everything calmly, showing data, patterns, energy levels. But what she could not fully explain was the feeling. "How do you know it's communication?" one scientist asked through the screen. Wynne looked at Alara, then back at the camera. "Because," she said softly, "it answered us." As the days turned into weeks, Haven 9 became a place of wonder. Visitors came from many worlds, not to control the star, but to listen. They stood on the observation deck, bathed in soft gold light, feeling something they couldn't quite put into words. Alara became known as the listener, but she never saw herself that way. She didn't think she was special. She had only done one simple thing. She had listened with her heart. Every time she connected with Aurelia now, she felt not just one voice, but many. The star network had grown. Each one had its own rhythm, its own melody. Together, they created something that could not be measured or calculated: a cosmic song. One quiet night, Alara stood alone again, hands resting on the glass. She could feel the music around her even when she didn't wear the neural band. It was a part of her now. Dr. Wynne joined her, carrying a small mug of tea. "It's strange," Wynne said softly, smiling. "All our technology, and the thing that changed everything was not a weapon or a machine. It was a song," Alara smiled. "Maybe that's what the universe was waiting for. Not someone to conquer it, someone to listen." They stood side by side, watching the golden threads stretch across the sky like ribbons of light. Months later, Aurelia's song became part of daily life across human colonies. Children learned its soft rhythm in schools. Musicians built new melodies inspired by the golden pulses. Scientists used the star network to map space in ways that were never possible before. But more than anything, the song brought something else: peace. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy wasn't looking outward with fear or competition. It was listening. Together. And in the heart of it all, on the quiet station Haven 9, Aurelia kept singing. One evening, a group of students from a distant colony visited the station. Alara led them to the observation deck. They pressed their faces to the glass, eyes wide in wonder as the golden star shone outside. One of the children, a small boy, asked softly, "Why did the star start singing to us?" Alara knelt down beside him and smiled gently. "Because it was alone," she said. "And we listened." The boy looked at the star with bright eyes. "Can it hear us now?" "Yes," Alara whispered. "It always can." That night, as the children slept in the guest quarters, Alara returned to the control room. She placed her hand on the console and closed her eyes. She didn't need wires or machines anymore. The connection was already inside her. She sent a soft pulse of thought, not words, just feeling, like saying hello without speaking. The star answered instantly. Its golden light warmed the window. And then, to her quiet surprise, dozens of other stars answered too. Aurelia had started the song, but now the galaxy was singing with it. Dr. Wynne stepped quietly into the room, watching Alara with gentle pride. "You know," she said softly, "you changed everything." Alara shook her head with a quiet smile. "No, we changed everything, me, you, the team, and the star."